talking random thoughts. Today we're talking about the Ethiopian conflict in the Tigray region and the ramifications of the region, or what it can mean for the region, and a little history of how it came to be. Joining me is Aaron Workington. My name is Brian Lamb, and go ahead and take it away.
So hello, everyone. The Ethiopian-Tigray conflict, as it's known right now, kind of has a long history, actually, and a lot of it has to do with, not just political, but ethnic issues. And as Brian and I have actually read more into the legacy or the story and history, the background, it's actually a pretty convoluted conflict. And I think I want to start out by saying that the current conflict began in early November of 2020. And that was actually when supposedly, or it is believed, that an Ethiopian national defense base was attacked by Tigray forces. I think the thing to bring up is Ethiopia is really based on ethnic groups. So each individual's political subdivision and the political parties are ethnic based. And Tigray is one of those ethnic kind of autonomous regions. And so they actually have their own government, which includes a president, and they have their own defense forces. And last, what was it, 30 years, the Tigray Liberation Front or Liberation Party, they had most of the control of the national government. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, so they were the leading force in toppling the previous Marxist dictatorship in 1991. The Marxist dictatorship was in charge of basically during the that huge Ethiopian famine back in the 80s, when everyone saw those first commercials about please save the Ethiopian people and the starving children and things like that. So yeah, they were instrumental in toppling that dictatorship. So they had a lot of influence in the government. But what's interesting about this is that even though they had an outsized influence, they're only account for fewer than 6% of Ethiopia's population. So some of this is probably a little bit based on a little ethnic revenge, you could say, maybe a lot of these groups thought that they were being dominated by this minority in their country and decided to take matters into their own hands, and this gave them the excuse. It's hard to say, really.
Well, and some of the articles we've read, they relate to the fact that the current Ethiopian prime minister is actually trying to break down certain ethnic divisions politically. He has, whether this is a form of control for him and his party, or because he believes in a more unified Ethiopia, this is one of the things that's upset the president of the Tigray national region, is the fact that he basically is trying to force the Tigray Liberation Party into the new Prosperity Party, which is supposedly made up of many ethnic groups.
Yeah.
Forcing
those. Yeah, I was going to say, and forcing those, people into one party never really goes over too well in any country.
Well, and especially since Ethiopia has been based on this sort of federal ethnic system for the last, century or so.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and there's even some talk that, this is a fight over what Ethiopia should be, whether it should be based on the current structure of based on conquest of all these ethnic groups in the past, and we're talking hundreds of years in the past, versus the current, or versus decentralizing that into more ethno-federated states, I would assume.
So this is sort of a kind of internal imperialism that's taking place, where one ethnic group feels it can determine the vision and where the entire nation is going, in light of the fact that there's all these other ethnic groups.
Correct. Yeah. And And so, yeah, like this slide says, I mean, this could potentially destabilize the entire country if the conflict continues. But it'd be interesting to know how many of these other ethnic groups are really on board with the government, or are they more on board with like the Tigray group? An interesting side note to this whole conflict is that apparently the Tigray region, they had the TPLF, or that's the name of the Tigray Political Liberation Front, had conquered some, like the southern, I think the southeastern side and the western side of their area, and there's rumblings from those groups that were conquered that they're saying they don't want to be ruled by that ethnic group; they want to be ruled by the ethnic Amaras. So,
which of course is the group that the current Ethiopian prime minister identifies with.
right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And yeah.
Yeah, and then complicating the situation further, the current president like invited Eritrean troops into the conflict to help them subdue Tigray, which isn't too popular either, at least to the Tigray.
And of course, Eritrea is a former part of the Ethiopian state, and they fought like a decade-long civil war.
Right.
In which the UN had to broker some kind of still unfulfilled peace deal between Ethiopia and Eritrea. So, you know, there's nothing to bring two enemies together than a common enemy. So
right. Although it strikes me as interesting that it's okay for the Eritreans to fight a war of independence, but not for the Tigrayans to fight a war of independence.
Right. Yeah, because and I think going back to your statement of sort of ethnic revenge, you know, there has been a lot of claims that when the Tigray National or Liberation Party was in control of the national government, they squelched any other type of ethnic involvement from the other groups. And then once they had retreated to their region, their homeland, you know, it's ironically now the tables have turned.
Right, right.
Those who have attacked the Tigrays for doing that, for you know, doing such things, they are themselves are actually performing right now. So
right, yeah, and there's the whole conflict. I mean, because the ethnic Tigrays that are being like bombed or gunned down by Eritrean and Ethiopian government troops. Like a lot of them have fled. I think the latest figures were like 50,000 to 100,000, like displaced, and they fled across the border to Sudan.
Right.
So,
which itself
is completely destabilized. So it's piling bad situations onto bad situations.
Yeah. And I know, do you have the slide that shows where Tigray is located? And
yeah, I can bring that up really quick.
Just so it gives an idea of.
Yeah.
Of one of the issues with the Tigray region is it actually borders Sudan and Eritrea, and it's actually mountainous and somewhat fertile land. So it has some value to the national Ethiopia.
Oh, really? I did not know that. So, is it more agricultural or?
Well, there's some agriculture there, and I think there's some mineral resources that can be accessed. So, but yeah. I mean, bordering two already kind of unstable nations, Eritrea and Sudan. I mean, just having another Ethiopian civil war there. I mean, right. It's gonna.
It has a potential to destabilize the country and create like another humanitarian disaster. I mean, there's already been one in Somalia. That place is still, you know, completely fragmented into fiefdoms and
right.
Islamic radicals and whoever else is there. And then if Ethiopia broke up, that would be even more destabilizing. Plus, Ethiopia is one of the main food producers in the region, I think. So, or has the potential to be.
Yeah, there's a lot of resources in Ethiopia, and so it could affect the whole region. You know, from Egypt down to Kenya.
Right.
So that's a huge square. That's a lot of square
Yeah.
miles that can be affected. So
Yeah. Currently, the Ethiopian government forces have actually captured most of Tigray. Right now, they actually have, I guess, bounties out for the leaders um, who have gone to ground or into hiding. Um, so they've captured like the cities. So the government forces are basically all in control of the area, but they're looking for the leaders and trying to arrest them. So
so here there is another sticky wicket. Where are the leaders? Are they still in the region, or are they across the border in other nations? And what will Ethiopia do to
right,
capture?
exactly. And are the leaders looking to do guerrilla warfare for a long period of time, or like how are they looking to
Right.
resolve the situation in their favor? So. Well, I
Ooh,
guess at this point, yeah, we'll have to see and keep track of the situation. Thanks for joining us on Geopolitical Geeks and Random Thoughts. Next week, we'll be talking about China and its potential role as the future economic superpower. Thank
thank
you.
you very much.